Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you tonight. I'm going to bring on, of course, we're going to start off as usual with Coach's Corner panel, and I got a couple of great veterans of the game going to be on here with me in just a second, and I'll introduce them in just a moment, but so bear with me. And then a little bit later on in the show, I'm going to be joined by Director of Golf of the Greg Jones Golf Academy, of course, Greg Jones himself. He's going to be here to talk about what else but golf and some great products that he has to help not only the teacher professionals out there to help their students, but also some of the things that the students can do to help their game along as well. So we'll talk about some of that as the program progresses on. But as I said, we're going to start off with Coach's Corner here in just a few moments. But let me just remind everybody, of course, we are live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central. Best way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com. Up in the search key, type Golf Talk Live, and that will bring you to the main page. Obviously, the current shows are always at the top when we're live, and then if you scroll down a little bit further into the on-demand section of the page, you can go back and listen to any of the programs that you may have missed over the last several weeks and actually over the last few years. All of the archives are there. So remember, go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and you'll be able to tune in and join us live from 6 to 8 Central on Thursday evenings. If you want to call in and speak, which we always encourage you to do with either the guests or myself, you can do so by calling in area code 646-716-4667 anytime during the live broadcast, of course. Or you can email any questions or comments to me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And also, if you're interested in coming on to be a guest on the show, you can also reach out to me there as well at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Always update the show on social media, so go to Facebook and go to the main page, Golf Talk Live blog. And while you're there, make sure you throw a like my way. I appreciate that. And you can also follow me on Twitter at TedandBuckCEO, and that's CEO in caps. As I mentioned, we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to start off with Coach's Corner. And as I mentioned, I've got a couple of great veterans of the game. First off, let me introduce Clint Wright. Clint is a 30-year member of the PGA. He's also a partner at TGM Golf and a big proponent of the R3 approach, which he's going to be on in a future show coming up here, and I think just in a few weeks with one of his partners, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit more detail. He's really one of the best covering the short game today, in my opinion, and also one of my favorite guests on the panelists as here on Coach's Corner, as is my next guest, John Hughes, who's also been on here many times. He's a PGA Master Professional. He's the Vice President and Secretary of the North Florida PGA Section, and he is a recipient of the 2013 PGA of America Horton Smith Award. Two great guys, both veterans of the game, and there's a reason why I wanted to have these two guys on. But let me bring them on here first. Guys, welcome to Coach's Corner.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here, Ted. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. Guys, one of the reasons why I want to do that, the topic that we're going to discuss, as I mentioned to both of you off air, is really to share some thoughts on being a golf teacher, but more importantly, being a good golf teacher. And the reason why I wanted to have, I chose this for tonight, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, is you guys are really veterans of the game. You've been in this game for a long, long time. And in my opinion, and I know the opinion of many others, are not just great instructors and great coaches, but certainly honorable men as well. And you always, in my opinion, epitomize what a true professional is. And I wanted to have two guys such as yourself really to have this conversation tonight. And what brings me to this reason why I want to have this conversation is really quite simple. There's a lot of great people in the golf industry in all facets of the game, whether they're PGA, LPGA, USGTF, and so on and so forth. But there's also a lot of things that happen within the industry, too, that isn't sometimes always in its best interest. And one of the things that's really sort of taken blossom here over the last decade or so is social media. And I've noticed here over the last little while in social media that there's some things that really have caught my eye. And again, I'm not going to get into specifics tonight, but has sort of spurred this conversation. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But let me just read this, guys, and I'm going to get you to jump in on some thoughts of being a really good golf teacher. Let me just read this out here, and then, guys, we'll get into discussion. Golf is really a game, and it should be fun. The best advice given to any potential golf teacher professional is to structure your golf lesson, regardless of what facet of the game you're teaching, around the fact that the game is meant to be enjoyed. The golf teacher who has the ability to let his or her personality come out, loosen up their students, and perhaps even get them to laugh a bit is worth their weight in gold. The most successful golf teaching professionals seem to be the ones who have the most fun with their students. Clint, I'm going to start with you. A true or false statement, do you think?
Oh, that's absolutely true. I mean, we play a game. It's not like we're out here, life or death. I mean, they're coming out to try to enjoy themselves for whatever reason. All of our students have different reasons for wanting to play. Either their husband or their wife plays, their family plays. They want to, the group at work plays golf. Just a prime example, we were down this past weekend at Top Golf in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Y'all may be familiar with Top Golf, John. I don't know if you are or not, but
absolutely.
Pardon me?
Absolutely familiar.
Yeah, I mean, we had a ball, so, and you could tell that the people were there having fun. So we need to relay that on our practice tee as well, is that there's a little bit of pain early on here to learn how to play and play it maybe at whatever level you want to. But the whole idea, is to go out and have a good time and enjoy your day. And
right.
That has to be started on the practice tee. I just got done with a group of 11 ladies this evening just before we called in. And it was a vast variety, some avid players and some beginners, okay?
Right.
But, we started them out with a little wine and cheese today. They were so we had a good time. And they learned something about how to play and score better. So, absolutely. I mean, if they're not doing that, we're not going to keep them.
Right, exactly. And John, I mean, I know that you feel along the same way, I'm sure, as Clint does. Any thoughts that you want to expand on that as well, about being a good golf teacher?
I'm trying to think if you read that off my website, because
No.
I think I've got something similar to that on mine and on multiple pages. It is about fun.
Right.
The best way I know how to put it is I don't know anybody, at least that I associate with, that doesn't have fun at what they do.
Right.
Their families don't have. They all have fun doing things together or separately or what have you. I really don't know anybody in my life that doesn't have fun doing what they do. So why would we make golf not fun? That's just never sat well in my mind as long as I've been coaching golf, which goes back to 1988.
Right.
It just bewilders me sometimes. I agree with what Clint said. Sometimes it may start out a little strenuous or a little frustrating, but once you work through the frustration from the standpoint of view of understanding how to change, it should be fun. If it's not, I have a credo. If I don't have fun, I change what I do. I've got lots of other taglines after that based on who I'm talking to. But bottom line is I can't see why a coach or a teacher wouldn't want to instill fun in anybody they touch. Anybody, regardless of age, regardless of group or individual lessons. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, both of you. As I said, and I'm going to explain a little bit more, and I'm not going to get into great specifics because I don't believe in doing that, and I want really the conversation to be a positive one for the golf professionals out there. But in all honesty, and we have to sometimes have these discussions, and I can't think of a better format to do this in. And again, I've chosen to do it on a night when I knew I was going to have some what I refer to as seasoned veterans, not just because you've been around the game, but just your whole demeanor and your professionalism, and all the times that you've been on the show and the way you conduct yourselves out in public. I'm all for having fun, and I'm all for engaging, with fellow professionals. But as I mentioned earlier, social media has become a very powerful tool in life in general, not just in personal life, but in business life. And here over the last little while, I watch things. I don't engage as much through some of the different groups. I mean, obviously I post things pertaining to the show, and we'll share some thoughts here and there, but I don't engage in some of the conversations all the time, mainly because quite often they'll take a turn or somebody will jump in on the conversation that has either a less than flattering or in my opinion, an unprofessional comment. And I think that, and I'm saying this mainly to the golf professionals, but it really applies to anybody. I think when you're in a format like this, and especially as we've all come to know the power of social media, whatever image or persona that you put out through social media is going to be picked up and can be picked up potentially by anybody around the world. And more often than not, I have seen people, particularly, and again, we're focusing on golf, within this professional that are less than professional in their demeanor in social media. And I don't think they fully understand the image that it projects. And what they don't understand is potential students or even current students may see that persona being played out through social media. And I think that they need to be on guard of that. And this brings me to the next topic, is obviously professional appearance, not just physically, but also the using of social media. It's there as a tool. It's certainly a way to connect with friends and family as well, but it's also a business tool that can be used to reflect whatever, again, persona or image you want to portray. Let's talk very briefly about that aspect of it. Again, Clint, I'll let you start off. Or John, actually, I'll let you start off this time.
Okay.
What do you try to project through social media? Obviously, you use it for both personal and for business, but what are you trying to project when you get on social media?
All I'm trying to do is project who I am. It's just that plain and simple. Who is John Hughes? Who is John Hughes the person? Who is John Hughes the golf coach? Who is John Hughes the entrepreneur? Who is John Hughes the PGA leader, or whatever the case may be?
Right.
And some of the things I think about, I'm not as active as I could be from a business perspective, and I have salesmen banging down my door all the time trying to help me with that. But the saving grace, the little positive caveat is, maybe John's busy taking care of other people or taking care of the family, and that's why I'm not on there all the time. I've got to share a story real quick about about 13, 14 months ago. My wife and I were at a football game viewing party one Saturday, and I tend to take my iPad with me just to keep up with social media. I had some emails to take care of for clients, and I was paying attention to an ongoing discussion on social media. I won't name names or where it was. And within 5 minutes, the discussion became extremely aggressive, is the only way I know how to say it. And I backed out. I literally backed out, and I'm not going to say I was cyber bullied, and that definitely there is that going on with a lot of different things, even outside the golf business. I see some things from my clients the same way within some of their industries. But I basically had to ask myself, is this something that I want a future client to see? Is this something that I'd be proud to have my son see? And most importantly, is this who I am? And I just ignored it, and it went away quietly. But the more and more I monitored this, the more I took a conscious stand. I read, but I won't engage. And what you do see on social media from me is positive, nothing but. And it's all about the positive things that happen to my students or happen to me or happen to my family. Or I've just started in the past couple of weeks a thought for the week, highlighting my business. And I'd be an idiot not to highlight my business, but to give some people some perspective on what we're all trying to get accomplished together as a community or as an individual. So, social media is an extremely powerful tool, and it's in the eye of the beholder as to what they want to use it for, but ultimately it's the perception that the people reading it make a decision about who you are and whether to engage you or not. And
right.
no matter what you read, no matter what you research, that's all it boils down to.
Exactly. Well said. And Clint, I just want you to touch on this a little bit too, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I'll touch real briefly on it. I mean, John's exactly right. You know, one of the differences, and I think, you know, I go back to the late 70s as far as teaching in the early 80s, is that we still see, my generation, yours and John's, we see our teaching universe as local.
Yeah.
Some of the newer guys coming in, and maybe some of the old ones too, begin to see their universe outside of that local business. And they have to understand, and I think that there is a level of camaraderie that our generation of PGA golf professionals may have that some others don't, is that we don't see other PGA golf professionals as competition.
Right.
You know, we see them as you know, members of our organization. They're our you know, I'm struggling for the word or what to call them, but we're not competition.
Brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
right.
We're there together. But I'll be honest with you, and I'll say this and be done with it. Is that I was raised, you know, this kind of the thing that says you can either keep them guessing or open your mouth and prove that you're a fool.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the way I see the media. I read it and I look at it, but I don't really use it that way because, you know, I just soon keep them guessing.
Yeah.
So,
Clint, here's a great question for you, Clint, just to keep it in a discussion. How you're obviously in the business a little bit longer than me, and I was sort of wondering. I think I know the answer to this. Or did you ever at any time have to start boasting and sticking your chest out to show people that you knew something versus just proving through a relationship, a coaching relationship, that, hey, here's the results?
Well,
that's the way my mentors
absolutely not.
always
you know,
taught me.
You know, I'm the type of person is that I'm pretty sure that success is enough proof.
Right.
I don't have to brag about it. And people migrate to success. And it's just like when, you know, we've had this conversation many times in different forms, but we always would invite people, you know, if we wanted to build a business around our universe and our club, you'd invite the people that were going to talk about it. You wanted them bragging about it. You wanted them bragging about how their game had gotten better because they come to see John and Clint or Ted. You wanted them doing your bragging. Success was all the bragging we needed. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where if you're a good teacher, people improve the way they play, they have more time, you don't have to boast about it. They'll do it for you.
Right. Let me just add this, and then we'll close out that particular conversation and move on here to some other things. Again, I want to obviously I don't want to dwell on this particular topic, and I certainly don't want to remain negative throughout the program on this. But
sure.
What sort of brought this to light is, and I won't get into specifics, but recently, I had one of the shows I had done, as you both know, I'm sure, through seeing all of my posts, that I post quite frequently through letting people know who's on the show and all that kind of thing. And I actually had recently somebody post some negative things, not about the show itself, but about a guest that was on the show that was very unprofessional. At first I thought it was, just some good old-fashioned fun and joking, but it turned out to be, in my opinion, very malicious. And it brought me to the point that, and this is not the first time that I've seen something through other forums and other, golf groups, but this is the first time I've ever seen this where a guest on my show was actually singled out. And I found that to be not only unprofessional, but I thought to myself, is this the image, which goes to what both of you just talked about, is this the image that you want to project of yourself in this profession or any profession for that matter? And it brings to the point that, and John, you said it really well. I mean, as I do, a lot of times I'm, when we're traveling or stuff, I'll have, keep things in my hands in social media a little bit. I don't do it religiously, but I certainly do keep my tabs in. And I've, over the time as well, I've seen conversations that will start out, and there's certainly some good discussion, debate, but then it'll turn quite ugly and it gets to, mudslinging and so forth. And that, to me, again, that's why I don't participate in a lot of the discussions because of that. But I just think that social media is a very powerful tool. It's certainly a way of staying connected. It's a way of expanding your business if that's how you choose to. But keep in mind that what you put out there is seen by a lot of people, including your peers. And the image or the profession or persona that you put out there can come back and bite you at some point. And so I would just caution those of you in there. Certainly have some spirited debates, spirited discussion. I have no problems in that. I have no problem with that on the show. But keep it professional and don't come into personal attacks and things on your fellow professionals. That just, in my opinion, is not cool, and it's bad for the game. And I for one, think golf needs to rise above that, and I hope that those professionals that may be listening in tonight keep that in mind. With that, let's move on, guys. Clint, I'm going to start off with you again.
Okay.
The next sort of heading is explanation, and I'll just quickly read something to get you to expand on it. The industry believes that most students are not capable of ingesting too much information within a short time frame. Words should be chosen carefully, and information should be limited really to what matters. Therefore, when explaining the mechanics of a particular facet of the game, regardless of your mastery of the language you are teaching in, keep the explanation short, simple, and to the point. And they actually had a quote here from Thomas Jefferson: the most valuable of all talents is that of never using two words when one will do. And I think that's a certainly true statement. Do you agree with that, Clint? And is that sort of sometimes what we've talked about here in the show about technology, sometimes getting too much information, not just technology, but in the teaching, throwing too many words in there and confusing the students?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can do that easily at any level. I think that from my standpoint, I try to evaluate my student first to find out just, where are they? Are they beginners? Are they avid players? Are they, college-level player, high school player? Where are they within the realm of a golf student or somebody willing to learn or somebody willing to improve? So if I'm dealing with a player that's looking for improvement, then we may get a little bit more in-depth in the discussion of how they're going to improve. If we're dealing with a beginner, then we're going to be very basic, go to the fundamentals, and stay as simple and clean as possible to simply get them to advance the ball, start making contact. That's the baseline. Then we go from improvement. It's one of the things that we do with our beginners is that we ask them not to keep score. Mm-hmm. And if they, pick it up if they need to, move on up and chip and putt out. They have more fun that way. So we look at certain levels of improvement. But I think that the best instructors are going to evaluate their student and bring the conversation and bring the lesson up to the level of the student and move them on as quickly as possible. I think if you don't do that and you start trying to explain to a beginner, about maintaining the angle and
right.
bring it from this side, you're going to lose them. Okay. Not to belay my answer here, but I'm dealing with a new set of programs that this group of ladies is kind of prototyping a program of how do you keep a group lesson, a group going that's got some avid players and some beginners. How do you attract and how do you keep them all engaged? Because if you go to the avid players level, the beginner's lost, and if you go to the beginner's level, the avid player is bored, so you lose them either way. So you just have to, the best instructors out there evaluate their student and try to elevate the conversation to match their student's level.
Well said. John, do you want to add to that, or do you want to move on to the next one and let you take that?
The only thing I'd add there, and Clint, you did say it well, it is about evaluation, and my thought for the week last week had to do with listening. That if you just pay attention not only as a teacher, but as a student, and listen, truly listen for the value of listening and not jump to assumptions. There's a lot of times you may have a thought in your head when you've heard something, but you have to listen to everything. And when you do, as an instructor, you will do what Clint just described, and you'll do it marvelously, and you'll do it well for a very, very long time. and you'll be successful, and you'll be positively impactful to the people that you coach. For the golfer, you have to listen, and you have to tell us as golf coaches, enough is enough, or I want more, and I can take more. And we're certainly there to be able to deliver either or. I love what Clint was saying, how do you satisfy the opposite extremes in one group? And it is a lot of listening. It is a lot of people just being patient with one another and helping each other out. I get this all the time where I'll go to a golf course maybe on vacation, and I'm playing by myself, and I get paired with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, you're a professional? I can't play with you." And I'm like, you know what? I had to start somewhere. Come on, let's go. Yep. It's not about me scoring. It's not about me giving you a lesson. I'm not going to give you a lesson. I'm on vacation, but let's go have some fun and realize I want you to understand that I was in your shoes at one point. And when people actually listen to that and take it for face value, I think no matter who your coach is, that's got to be a give and take on both sides, and it becomes a very successful coaching relationship because of that.
Well said, both of you. And John, I'm going to let you take a bit of a deep breath here, and I'm going to start you off again. I know you just finished talking, so take a couple of deep breaths, and then I'm going to talk about the next one is demonstration. And I think we're probably all on the same page here. But again, I want really what the purpose of the panel discussion tonight, guys, is really twofold. What does it take to be a good teacher, and just some of the areas that I think teachers really need to make sure they're focused. And obviously, I know the people that have been in for a while, but this is really, I think, good information for some of the newer guys and gals that are just sort of starting out. These are things that really, I think, are important that they understand and know. And I know we all get it in our manuals, if you will, but sometimes we need a little bit of a refresher course. Demonstration is the next one. And let me just read this very quickly, and then, John, I want you to after you're taking a couple of deep breaths, to jump in here. A picture is certainly worth 1,000 words. If you explain something to a student, you certainly need to follow up with a demonstration. And then, of course, have your student try it. All explanations, I think, should be followed up with a visual golf teaching demonstration. First off, is that true in all cases, or is it mainly more true for beginning golfers? And if yes or no, why?
It's true in all cases, and I'll tell you a quick story why.
Sure.
I know Ted knows this, Clint. I'm not sure if you do. When I was a teenager, I played at the highest level of competitive soccer that you could in the United States at the time, and actually tried out for the U.S. national team a couple times. And to this day, I'm still amazed by the coaching that my parents surrounded me with. I can remember my rec league coach, who I still bump into once a year when I visit my parents. He's now in his mid-70s, and he's running around the field as if he was 12 with a bunch of 12-year-olds. And it's so impactful. It's so inspiring. The people that I met through that journey could always do what they asked us to do. And now, from a leadership standpoint of view, I was taught that in Boy Scouts. Leaders are willing to do what they're asking other people to do. But in a sport, that's different. There's age, there's decrepitness, there's possible injuries. There's a lot of things that go into that variable. I have to admit I struggle with that a little bit, with just injuries catching up with me over the years. But the one thing that I must, and I believe in great coaching, and a great coach can tell, a great coach can show, but a great coach can do. And that is so inspirational, whether you're a beginner or a tour pro. It doesn't make a difference, to me, at least, that when that person on the other side of the conversation knows that, hey, this person knows what they're talking about, they can show me how to do it, and they may not, I may be a tour pro and this person can't do it at the level I need to do it, but he certainly or she certainly can actually do it themselves. And it's not credibility. Part of it's credibility, but the other part is to be able to make that connection between the coach and the student. And it's vital. To me, it's absolutely vital. I'm constantly just hitting balls around the house. Or when I'm out at the golf course, I got time between a lesson, I'll chip and putt or do whatever it takes to keep those demonstration skills at least credible. I'm not a player, never really was a quote-unquote player. It wasn't my desire. But I can play at a credible level. And there's some truth to that to a certain degree, but you don't have to be a tour pro to be a great teacher, but you do have to be a great coach. In my opinion, you should be able to actually do it. Telling, showing's one thing, doing it's another.
Right. Well said. And Clint, on the other side, and I'll let you certainly add to that if you choose, but on the other side of it, I've spoken to some people recently that have mentioned that sometimes their teacher / coach, what have you, sometimes will go too far and are hitting often more shots than maybe they would like. In other words, the coach is hitting too many shots or the teacher is hitting too many shots and not really allowing the student to do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So go ahead.
See, I'm just on the opposite side of the scale. I do very little hitting of a golf ball myself during a lesson. Okay? I will demonstrate, show a person the positioning. I use the video a good bit to show positioning that they're not in or we want to try to get in, compare using, models to compare. But I've always been very careful if I hit 4 or 5 shots during a lesson, that's a lot. Because to me, the lesson's about the student improving. I don't really, if they're taking lessons from me, they've invested their time and money in what I have to show them and say. I think that shows credibility already. I don't have to prove I can hit it. One of the demonstrations that we do, and it's one that I like to use a lot, is we all know that a lot of players that try to hit it too hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of the demonstrating I do is more about rhythm and show them, hey, all you got to do is make contact. You don't have to swing real hard. Really slow down and show them how the ball will react simply to impact at a certain point. And that they get. So I'm real careful not to over-demonstrate, but we do try to use it for certain aspects of what we're trying to relay to the student. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think both answers really are correct. I think you have to find a balance. I agree really on both sides. I think it depends on what you're trying to convey to the students. I mean, sometimes I think a little bit more demonstration, as John's suggesting, comes into play, again, depending on the circumstance and really what you're trying to convey, especially if you're making a lot of changes to somebody's game. Obviously, some people are visual, so they need to see that visual stimuli. Others, it may be, like as you suggest, Clint, it may not be so much that I necessarily have to physically show them the shot. They have a pretty good grasp of what's going on. It may be just a matter of explaining a technique or, as you said, tempo or rhythm, just getting to understand that they don't have to get up there and murder the ball. So really it depends. I think either or answer, is really right. But there certainly has to be some demonstration, I think, just so that for those students out there particularly that need to see a visual demonstration, I think it's good. But it's not a matter of showing the prowess of the instructor. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Clint, you can take a deep breath or two because we're going to start back with you, if you will. Detection and correction is the next segment here, and it really goes hand in hand. And obviously, I'll just give you a short snippet here, and then I'll let you jump in. If you detect an error, correction naturally has to go along with it. Detection of errors should be chosen wisely. For instance, if a student has a horrendous grip, along with all kinds of other problems, you would naturally want to make a change with the grip right off the bat and not necessarily mention some of the other problems. Is that really a true statement as well? Sometimes, we can get too focused on everything that's going on when maybe it might be one area that might need some correction and the others would follow suit. Is that really a true statement, you think, as well? And if not, explain.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that I would agree with that totally. I know we have to hold the club properly and get in the proper setup positions, but one of the things that we use, and we've talked about it before, is kind of the blending puzzle of the R3, that we have a format that we look at is the person Is their setup okay? Well, if it's okay, we'll deal with that. Let's move on to see how they're moving the club down the line, and are they holding the angle? How they're moving the club. If they're doing that okay, then we want to move on. And again, this is part of this evaluation idea. How's their body supporting that movement? Then once you go through the entire, let's look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Then we can determine, all right, what's the most important thing we need to deal with first? What's the big, what's the elephant in the room? I use an example of learning to play golf or improving your golf game is a lot like learning to ride a bicycle. The instructor needs to see you try to ride it before we can give you any advice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we have some people out there that believe, okay, I'm going to show you this is what you got to do before they really hardly ever know what their student is doing. So we try, or I do anyway, try to evaluate from top to bottom, prioritize the thing. So if everything else is going pretty good and their grip is real bad, well, then I'm going to start with their grip. But if their grip is okay, maybe, or if it's not quite so good, but they're over rotating the club going back, they're not creating the angle, they're tossing from they're casting from the top. Those issues are more important to me than how they're holding the club.
Right.
Okay. Now, so I've got to prioritize what's the big issue, and then we'll work our way through them at a time. That comes back to your original question: do you overpower your student with so much things to do, or do you, as an instructor, decide to spoon feed the most important things first and work your way through that checklist?
Right.
Okay,
well
and I
said.
think the best instructors will take their student through the checklist a little bit at a time, but in their own mind, prioritizing what the big issue is, work down to the little issue.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well said. John, I'll let you...
Absolutely agree. And there's instructors out there that go about it similarly to Clint as I do. There's people out there that go about it a little bit different. I think for the students out there listening tonight, for you guys to understand it, when we're trying to diagnose and prioritize, we're always asking why. Why is this happening? And we do want to get rid of the elephant in the room first, because that's what's going to get someone to having fun quicker. That's what's going to get them to their ultimate goal quicker. A great example, I've got a gentleman who's very successful, plays at a decent level and wants to get somewhat competitive at an older age, and he realizes he's got to get faster with his swing to generate more distance without sacrificing the accuracy he currently has. So instead of trying to break everything down and rebuild it, the very first thing we did was, okay, let's talk about speed and let's talk about how it's generated and give you some ideas as to how to do it. But at the same time, have that gentleman understand why, in his current condition, maybe he's not generating as much speed as he could. And it addresses it the same way Clint says, and I think all great golf coaches out there do that. They go about it a little bit differently based on their personality and some beliefs in either direction, but ultimately getting rid of that elephant in the room gets the student where they want to be, quicker, faster, with more fun and enjoyment.
Right, exactly. Again, both of you well said. This one I think is really a no-brainer. John, again, a deep breath or two, and I'm going to let you start off. Encouragement versus criticism. Obviously, we always want to try and encourage our students, and I think we certainly need to have some constructive criticism when and where it's needed. But do we need to go to the extent for every error that we may find in somebody's golf swing or a particular area of their game? Do we need to reinforce it with, maybe more, 2 or more things that they're doing correctly? Is that important to do that, or is it necessary to do that? John?
It depends on the person. Some people react negatively to positive encouragement. I mean, some people are different, and from a coaching standpoint of view, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You have to listen and understand your student. You have to understand what their goals are and what motivates them, what inspires them, and what motivates them. Is it positive? Well, stay positive. Don't criticize. Always emphasize the positive. If it's somebody who dwells on the negative and that's how they get things done, I'm certainly not going to sit there and clap their hands at a poor performance. Clap my hands
Right.
rather at a poor performance. But I may not dig as deeply into the negative as they're going, because that's why they've sought me out. They've gotten so deep in the negative, they're basically asking for help. They're reaching their hand out and saying, "Hey, get me out of this hole." So it's different for everybody. I don't think there's an equation for everyone. You do two or opposite or what have you. Again, all based on the individual, based on what the goals are, based on what the hot button is for that particular person, and just trying to stay consistent with it in a dialogue. And when you're consistent within the dialogue, good things happen.
Exactly. Well said. Clint, if somebody has a lousy takeaway, but they've got a good grip and a brand new pair of FootJoy shoes that you want to brag on, is that is along the lines of what John is talking about? Is that your feeling as well, or do you want to add anything different?
In certain words, I think the way I look at it is that we try to again. We come back to this evaluation idea. We look at the student as a whole, not as pieces. Okay, and I have a real strong belief that at some point, part of my role as an instructor is to convince the person that I'm working with that part of their golf swing is acceptable. It's okay. Is it perfect? Is it textbook? Well, no, but it's acceptable and it's working for you. So let's not worry about changing that. That's okay. So there's my positive. What you're doing there is good. It's okay. It's acceptable. Now, let's move on to this area over here that maybe not quite as acceptable as we need it. So that's what we're going to focus on. But I'm going to take them down that path, and let's find out what you're doing is that we can accept and say it's okay, let's just keep doing it that way. Then they know that they've got parts here that are fine, there are parts we have to work on. So I try to give them that reassurance that not everything is going to hell in the handbasket. Is that we got some really good things going on here, but we could really make these other things work better together if we take this part and improve it, and here's how we're going to do it. So that's the approach I take with it. There's more what part of your golf swing and your golf game is acceptable and what part is not. And that's a conversation we have with all of our students. They may be quite comfortable. It's just like the gentleman John was working on. It sounds like he's working with me. I mean, I can't hit it far enough anymore. I got to figure out how to get faster. And so I got to be able to accept the accuracy that I can hit it, but work on maybe getting a little faster along with it. But there's still that positive aspect. Well, I can hit it in the fairway. What part of your golf swing are you comfortable with, and can we point to that being acceptable that you can let go of, and then move on? I had a student I was working with about 6 months ago that you want to talk about the kind of the negative and the positive. It was a young high school kid, great player, ball striking's unbelievable, and I walked out on the lesson tee with him one day, and I said, look, if you want me to help you get better than that, I'm done. Okay? And to get him to focus on what was acceptable and to where we could go over here and work on what wasn't. He couldn't chip and putt at all compared to the way he was striking it. So I told him, I said, I'm done with you. If you want me to help you hit it better, I'm done. If you want me to help you learn how to score better, let's go over here and work on this. And that's that positive and negative aspect, I think, when you get down to what's acceptable and what's not, that you can turn loose of what's acceptable, help your students turn loose of it, and you have to prove to them that it's good, and then move on to what they need to work on.
Right. I love what he said as far as the perfection to it. I'm always telling my students there is no such thing as perfection. But the work and the commitment that you put in to trying to get there is perfection in itself. So let's just do your best. Just do what you can do, and part of that is acceptance. I love what he said. It is about accepting who you are and what's good, and recognizing what the deficiencies are, and just, hey, if that's where you want to go and there's a deficiency, why are you bothering with something else?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, and well said, both of you, by the way. I think there's a lot of truth in John, and what you were just adding to there is I think that the students themselves have to be willing to accept their abilities, and that doesn't mean that there isn't always room for improvement. But I think too often in life, and not just in golf, but in everything in life, I think we try to compare ourselves too much to how somebody else is doing, and if we fall short of their abilities, a lot of times we take that a little bit too much to heart, whether it be from a student's perspective or even from a teacher's perspective. There's a lot of teachers out there that obviously are enjoying a phenomenal amount of success. They're in the golf media all the time, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to strive for that. But when you get to those levels, there's also a price sometimes that is paid. And it's through a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, and sometimes obviously there's a little luck thrown in there as well. I want you guys to answer this particular question, because I think this is an important one for all teachers listening out there, and I think students give some thought to this as well. Did my golf student enjoy themselves? And let me just say this, and then I want John, I'll let you go first. First off, is this statement true? And then I want you to expand how you know whether or not, or what are the telltale signs of whether or not your students have enjoyed themselves at the end of that session or that day. The student doesn't necessarily have to reach the expectations of the golf teaching professional to feel successful at golf. Success is measured differently by different people, and your golf lesson will only be good if the student leaves with a positive feeling from the experience. Is that a true statement? And then, John, I want you to tell how you know, besides the obvious of somebody giving you a personal compliment, how do you know whether or not your students have enjoyed themselves through your process?
I know when I find out where Ted got all this prose. Did he spend enough time writing it himself, or where is he reading it from? Great question.
A little of both. A little of both, John.
There's quite a few times I'm given the opportunity I'm asked to speak to rising instructors, people who want to become an instructor. I'll get a phone call. Can I watch you teach, kind of thing. And I always tell the people I'm mentoring that way, so watch for two things. I want you to watch for the person's eyebrows and what the eyebrows do, because that is 100% truth. Only politicians can control their eyebrows at an instantaneous moment. They're not going to go through Walmart, pick up the gum, and from a reactionary standpoint of view, and have any kind of reaction on their face where someone might say, "Oh, the gum," and their eyebrows go up, or they're questioning you and their eyebrows sort of scowl at you. So I'm always looking at eyebrows. I'm also looking at the facial expression based on the eyebrows, and that tells the story. I do ask a lot, "Hey, you having fun? You enjoying yourself?" But they can lie. But what can't lie is what those facial expressions and their body language tells me. And I'm constantly beyond just their ability to become more successful as a golfer. I've taught many a person who's struck the ball better, who has become more accurate, who has become longer, yet their body language tells me they're still not satisfied, or they're still not satisfied with what I'm providing them. So when I see that, hey, what else can I help you with? What are we not doing that you need, kind of thing. Besides the positive feedback, whether it's reviews or thank you letters or what have you, is when that person goes out and achieves what they ultimately wanted to achieve, is the satisfaction, but the confirmation that I've done what they've asked me to do as an instructor. That it's the smile after the fact. But I would tell you, as a student, watch your coach's eyebrows. If those eyebrows are moving up and down because they're questioning your commitment or your ability, or you're just out there wasting your own time, not necessarily ours, but wasting your own time. Be cognizant of that, because that, if you can read that and you can see that, that's going to help you become a better player, simply because you're going to be more responsive to what is being asked of you to reach your goals. That's all we ever do. I don't know of a great golf coach that tells you. I know of great golf coaches who ask you, and I know of great golf coaches who show you. Again, it's that dialogue, and there's a lot of nonverbal that will tell you within that dialogue on both sides whether that relationship is successful.
Right. Well said. Just for the record, Clint, before I let you go, John, I just want you to let you know I do write my own material, but I do sometimes take cues from all the great professionals that have obviously blessed me on the show. I think it's important, obviously, all kidding aside, just to surround yourself with good people, and I think that's where you draw your inspirations from. Clint, what about you? What sort of a telltale sign, besides the obvious compliments and letters and things and notes that John has just alluded to, how do you know at the end of the day that your students have really enjoyed themselves, and again, regardless of what may have been accomplished through the lesson, how do you know when you come away with a good feeling? What's your thought?
Well, a lot of it, John was correct. You can watch the student. They can't hold back the spontaneous smile when they just nail it for the first time. Yep. You know, they can't hold that back. It's a raw emotion they're going to show you. And what as a golf course operator and owner, and you see the people you're dealing with, is one of the things that I kind of use as a rule of thumb is that how many times do I see these people? Mm-hmm. Do I see them just on the lesson day, or do I see them coming out hitting range balls or practicing? Do I see them playing more? See, if I begin to start seeing my students at the golf course more often, then I know they're enjoying themselves and they're improving. You know, it's the ones you don't see that you pick up the phone and say, hey, how you doing? Have we lost contact here? We try never to lose contact with our students. And therefore, the ones that I know that are really into it and their adrenaline's going are the ones we start seeing more often. They're working at it, they're improving, so therefore they're having fun because they want to be there.
Right.
So that's kind of the way I've always tried to look at it, is you're going to have that spontaneous emotional show during the lesson, because they're going to hit some bad shots, they're going to hit some good ones. But the real true improvement where you understand that you're successful is you start seeing that person show up at the golf course more often and playing golf. That's the way I've always tried to do it. Right.
Again, well said, Clint, as well. We just got literally a few moments here, so I'm just going to wrap this up with this here, and then give each of you a moment or two to respond. These are just some points that I've jotted down here that, in my opinion, are just some of the points really that we need to remember. We need to remember as coaches and teaching professionals that regarding good golf lessons. And here's just some. First off, obviously we need to be brief. Keep the information, as we talked about earlier, simple and direct, and use obviously words that students can understand. One of the things that often sometimes, and again this alludes to sometimes with the technology, we get too technical, I think, sometimes out there. Not everybody, but sometimes. And I think, again, it's great for us that maybe have taken courses or have done some extensive research, but for some of the students out there, they may not always understand the lingo that's being used, so we need to be brief in our instruction. Again, this can apply. Not everybody is going to do this, but some people use a little humor, a little bit of humor when teaching golf. And I don't necessarily mean telling some dirty jokes, but getting out there and just having some fun and a few laughs while you're there. Obviously, showing the students rather than just telling them, giving them an opportunity, as John talked about, and you as well, Clint. Giving them, obviously, we want them to execute the shots themselves and try some of the things that we're showing them. But obviously, we need to give them some visual feedback from our abilities as well. Obviously, failure is something that's going to happen. We can't allow fear to creep in, so we need to, again, offer some encouragement, as we talked about, whenever possible. I don't think you necessarily have to continually praise your students on everything that they do, but certainly some positive reinforcement is good. need to give them some good drills and things, and make sure and encourage them to get out and practice these drills if we're using them, or exercise, and make that part of a routine for them. Errors, of course, are always part of the learning process. Certainly you want to emphasize the positive, and again, as John alluded to, it's okay to, again, through your assessment, you get an idea of what the student can handle and not handle. Some people don't take constructive criticism or even positive criticism sometimes very well. So, again, you have to use that assessment process. Again, as Clint had alluded to as well, if you're teaching in a group, you need to be cognizant of the different levels of players and find sort of a happy balance, not necessarily to the beginners and not necessarily to some of the more seasoned players. You need to somehow find a balance that works best for everybody. And I think also you need to be enthusiastic because that shows. If you have a positive, if you've had a long day out on the practice tee or out on the golf course, doing some instruction, you're dealing with your last lesson. It's very difficult sometimes, especially down here in the south, as both of you can attest to. It can get pretty hot out there. We need to make sure that we keep a positive frame of mind. Even if we've just had maybe a couple of lessons that didn't go the way we had hoped they'd go, we need to be positive for that next student. Clint, I'll let you go, and then John, I'll let you trail off here in the final statement. Clint, true, I guess, most of the statements there. Anything else that need to be cognizant?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that, it through my career, I've been both at the high and the low. At some points, and you hit on it perfectly. In the middle of summer, you're out there, you've been out there 7 or 8 hours giving lessons all day. You really didn't care whether that last one got it off the ground or not. You really, and it's just an honest thing. I mean, if you get there, you need to cancel that lesson and do it at a different time. I mean, I'm at a point in my career now where, and we've talked about the student having fun a lot here, but for all the instructors out there that are listening to us, if you're on that lesson tee and you're not having fun, it's time for you to start looking for something else to do.
Get the hell off the tee. Exactly.
Yeah, if you're not having fun with your students, you need to be doing something else because you're wasting your time and their money, and nobody's going to do anything better than what they're doing because I enjoy being on the lesson tee with my students. It's fun, okay? And if you're not doing that, please look for something else to do.
Right.
And not, again, not trying to be negative or call anybody out, but be honest with yourself as an instructor. If you're not enjoying working with your students, then that student's not having fun either, and they're not going to be in this game long. And as somebody that's been in this business and seen the highs and the lows of our industry, we're kind of in a low spot right now. We need all the positive things we can happening on that lesson tee and interacting with potential players to keep our game going.
Yeah, well said. Well said. John?
I 100% agree with everything Clint said. I sum it up in a word called passion. And passion begets passion, and passion as a first impression is either there or it's not. And whether it's the first or last lesson of the day, if it's 9 consecutive weeks of summer camp, or you just, it's a 50-hour week or whatever from a coaching standpoint of view, if the passion's not there, just ask yourself why and really self-examine it. And if you don't think you can regain it, it's okay. It's quite all right. It's okay. Find something that you're passionate about and do it, because that's why these people are coming to you as a golf coach, because they have a passion. They have a passion to play. They have a passion to have fun playing, but they have a passion to learn and improve. And that's something that I remind myself every day of, not because I need to be reminded so much as it provides vision, it provides direction for me, the people I surround myself with, my students, the facility where I teach, the people that I engage myself with every day. Clint said it exactly right. There's nothing better than you being passionate about what you're doing, and it's contagious. It will wear off on the people that you touch in a positive way.
Well said. And let me just add just a final thought. Well said, guys. Some great discussion tonight. And there was a reason why I chose to do this tonight with, as I said at the beginning, with both of you. You've certainly, proven that not only are you great instructors and great coaches, but you get it. You understand what it takes to be a good professional. And I think that, as I talked about earlier on, and again, I don't want to get into specifics, I've seen a lot here lately, not just in the golf industry, but in other industries, but particularly here lately, as I've sort of navigate through different social media, a side of this profession that I don't like. And John, you talked about that a little bit as well in one of your experiences. And I think as professionals, first and foremost, nothing wrong with having discussions. That's what we're having here tonight, and I encourage anybody that wants to call in or come on the program. I'd love to have you on here. But what I'm not going to do is create a platform for somebody to come on and vent and get into name calling and things like that. If you want to continue to do that on social media, it's going to be to your own detriment. So I would strongly encourage all of the coaches and teachers that are listening in tonight, and even the students. If you're working with somebody like that, get to know who they are, not just on the golf course, but off the golf course, because it tells a lot about their character. And I don't make no bones about that. I don't want to have somebody on this show that doesn't conduct themselves professionally in that forum as well as on the golf course. It's very easy to pull down the blinds and go home and let your hair down and have a good time. But at the same token, when you're out in the public, you need to project an image of professionalism. And if you can't do that, then this is certainly not the business for you. Gentlemen, thank you very much, as always, giving of your time. Clint, I'm glad you didn't get flooded out here the last few days with all the rain that you've been getting. Clint, of course, is up in the Carolinas. Thank both John and Clint. Again, you are true professionals, and it's always an honor to have both of you on the program, and I hope you will continue to come back many, many times as we continue this journey together. But also, I know, as I alluded to a little bit, what makes me a better person and has always done so in life is I surround myself with good people and like-minded people. And that doesn't mean we agree on everything all the time, but I like positive people that are looking to help others out there, and that's what I try to do with this show. And hopefully, as it continues to grow and blossom, if you will, over time, that's what I will accomplish. So thank you, gentlemen, for doing what you do, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and input on the show.
You're welcome, Ted. Let me tell you very briefly. I've been on this show now probably at least 10 times, and this is the best show we've done.
Well, thank you.
I agree.
I appreciate that, and I want you to know I wrote the entire show myself. I didn't copyright for anybody, John.
All right.
But
look forward to next time.
Exactly. It's a progression, and we're gonna keep moving forward. And I've got some things that I'm working on for 2016 to make it even better. So thank you very much, Clint, for your kind words as well. And John, thank you as well for coming on. John's been on, I think, maybe a few more times than you, Clint, but I always appreciate his input and thoughts as well, and his
absolutely
advice. John, thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the compliments earlier. I meant to say thank you before. It's an honor and pleasure. And Clint, my gut feeling after doing a little bit of research on you the past hours, my time in the Carolinas, we've crossed paths before, and I look forward to possibly doing that again with you.
I will be in touch, I'll promise you.
Great.
Get south of Tallahassee, right, Clint?
Yeah, south of Tallahassee will be okay.
John,
there
of course,
you go.
is in
the Mickey Mouse ears are waiting on you.
Yeah, John is in
great.
the Orlando. Yeah, John is in the Orlando area. For those of you who don't know, and Clint is up in the Carolinas. God bless, guys. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to having you guys back here on a future Coaches Corner panel and some future guest discussions as well. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was my very special guests on the Coaches Corner panel tonight. As I said, two veterans of the game, Clint Wright and, of course, John Hughes, who, as they've just alluded to, been many, many times on the program. We're going a few minutes over here, so let me just quickly read out a little bit about my special guest this evening. He's been actually on the program here, I think, a little over a year and a half ago. Greg Jones, he's a golf professional and golf instructor and owner and director of the Greg Jones Golf Academy for now over 25 years. Also formerly of the host of Golf Tips TV show, Golf Tips with Greg, the Golf Guy, and the radio show, The Greg Jones Golf Show. Greg is one of the most sought-after and successful amateur instructors in the country. Greg, or better known as Greg the Golf Guy, has a very simple way of teaching the golf swing, teaching golfers how to practice on the range, and helping golfers develop a strong winning mental side. Has developed a line of teaching aids and training aids as well, which we're going to talk about some of those tonight, not only to help the students out there, but also to help some of those of you that are in the golf profession, how to make your game a little bit better so you can help the students out there as well. So let me bring Greg on, and we'll continue the discussion. Good evening, Greg, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Good evening, Ted. Glad to be here.
Greg, thank you very much. Thank you
for
coming back on.
Show and Clint and John, I mean, they had a wonderful show. And the one thing that you said is, I've listened to several of your shows. You do a fantastic job, and everybody out here, we really appreciate what you do. And thank you.
Well, I thank you, and I will continue to try and push the needle, if you will, forward and keep this momentum going. And I want to thank, obviously, all of the people tuning in tonight. Greg, let's start off first. It was something that I wanted to talk to you about. I was actually, I always like to try and do things to prepare for each show, of course, and obviously, as I said, you've been on the program before, and we've had some great discussions. One of the questions that I wanted to, as I was watching one of your videos, and we'll talk about that as we progress through, and you talked about something that really pertains to your products and that, but you talk about the 4 laws of speed training. I want you to explain what they are, what each one of them are, and just a little brief explanation of each of the 4 laws.
Well, everybody wants to hit the ball further. There's nobody that doesn't. It's a hard thing to teach, and there's not many tools in the toolbox to be able to achieve that. The one key that you have to do to be able to hit the ball further absolutely is follow the 4 laws of speed training, which number 1 is the movement pattern. Mm-hmm. It must be similar or actually compatible with the actual athletic motion that you're making, meaning, for instance, if you're going to work on a golf swing, we can't go bench press. We can't go do some pull downs, and we can't do anything but work on a golf swing. So the actual athletic motion has to be similar. The next thing is contraction velocity, and that just simply means that you do things slow for weight training, but you do things fast for a golf swing. So it must be a similar event. So contraction velocity means fast for golf swings, slow for weight training. So if you want to train for speed, you have to train under fast conditions. And the third is contraction force. Contraction force, it must be higher than the actual event. The swing must, put it like this. When you're weight training, let's say you wanted to work on your bench press or you wanted to do more push-ups. If your goal is to do 50 push-ups in a month's time, and every day you only do 10 push-ups a day, at the end of that month's time, you're still only going to be able to do 10 push-ups. You're not going to get to 50. That means you have to actually increase daily. So today I want to do 10 push-ups, tomorrow I want to do 12, the next day I want to do 14, and so on, until I can reach that 50 push-up day, so I can actually be stronger than what I was when I started. So contraction force means it must be higher than the actual event. That means today we're going to train with X weight, tomorrow we're going to train with Y weight, and the next day we're going to train with Z weight. You have to keep continuing to change the resistance factor so that you continue to get stronger. And last is the contraction type, which it needs to be imitated. That means the muscles need to contract. They need to expand the same way they would during a golf swing. So you have concentric, which is a shortened muscle. You have eccentric, which is lengthening the muscle, and isometric, which they stay the same. So the muscles have to actually work in the exact sequence that you're going to during a golf swing. So the 4 laws of speed training, number 1 is movement pattern, contraction velocity, 2, contraction force, 3, and contraction type 4. So in order to increase, you have to be able to follow those 4 laws. Throwing a medicine ball into a wall is not going to make you faster. Take a look at a guy that's going to bench press. If he's bench pressing 500 pounds, doesn't mean he's going to be a quick speed in boxing. We want to increase our speed. We're not necessarily going after increasing how much we can bench or how much we can throw.
Right. And what you're saying, let me just clarify for those that are tuning into the program that have joined us in the second hour. Let me just clarify that Greg is certainly not suggesting that you should all of a sudden drop whatever exercise routine. But if you're hoping to bulk up or build up your muscles in order to improve your golf game, that's not what's going to do it. What you're suggesting is obviously you have to mimic really what the golf swing is going to do, and that is to increase the speed. And that's using the 4 laws that you just discussed is how you're going to increase your club head speed and, of course, ultimately get more distance, not by lifting an extra 20 or 30 pounds, deadlift or what have you, correct?
Well, you're absolutely right, but kind of rephrase that just a little bit differently. Right now we've got, performance centers and performance labs and certified trainers that are training people to increase their strength. We train with weights. We're not really training for speed, are we? We're training for more strength. We're training to get in better shape.
Right.
And a lot of times, that's why that a guy out there golfing, he doesn't want to come into the gym and work out. He doesn't want to come in and do squats and do bench press and work biceps and work triceps. But what we really do need to do is work the exact configurations, work the exact motions, the exact swing, the exact patterns that's going to allow us to increase what we call fast twitch muscle fibers, to activate them, to wake them up so that we can swing faster. And this is called overspeed training effect. So that we swing faster, so that we're using those fast twitch muscle fibers so that we're able to liven them up, start using them, and start swinging the club faster. And the only way that we're going to get there is we're going to train. So what most golfers really expect is, you come in for a lesson, you got overnight success. You come in to get distance. What most instructors do is we sell drivers because we don't have any tools in the toolbox to increase your club head speed. And if you're wanting to increase your club head speed, as well as increase your ability on the golf course or during a lesson and, play better golf, there's a learning curve. And so if we want to increase our distance, there's absolutely a learning curve that you have to go through. So what I've developed is basically a 6 weeks training speed system. And so the 6-week training system allows us to work 2 weeks on developing speed and then increasing the resistance, developing speed with that, and then increasing the resistance so that we're actually training to increase our speed. And what we can expect to increase after a 6-week training period, and to be very blunt, we worked this with over 70 different clients, and we've got oodles of information in trying to develop, on the weekend and on the strong end. And on the weekend, we've increased the driver speed 15-plus miles an hour. That's the weekend. Wow. But on the strong end, we've been able to increase the driver speed 25 miles an hour. Now, when it comes to distance and creating distance with a driver, 2.56 yards is 1 mile an hour. If I'm able to increase your club head speed 10 miles an hour, I'm able to increase your driver 25.6 yards if I have 100% effective swing. But what happens is I hear so many people kind of say things like, let's not worry about increasing your distance. Let's worry about the quality of your swing.
Right.
Well, one of the things that I kind of like to say is, when people are trying to train people and work with people and do lessons on the quality of the swing, sometimes I tell them to slow down, swing a little bit easier, swing a little bit softer. The other thing we do is we say let the club swing itself. So the one thing that I kind of think of is this. If I go into the gym today and the only thing I can bench is 100 pounds, let's say after 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks go by, I'm probably able to add 5 pounds to each side or 10 pounds to each side. After 2 more weeks, I can add another 10 pounds to each side. And after, again, 2 more weeks, I should be adding another 10 pounds to each side. So if I've been able to do that, I've effectively added 60 pounds. So I went from 100 to 160 pounds, or a 60% increase. Mm-hmm. If the average golfer out there is swinging 75 to 80 miles an hour, and people above average 90 miles an hour, if I'm able to increase you 10%, I've gained 8 miles an hour to 9 miles an hour. Not 50 to 60%, but 10%.
Right.
If we're able to gain 20%, we're able to increase your miles per hour at 16 miles an hour. And after a 6-week period of time, I feel very confident about being able to gain 15 to 20 miles an hour club head speed. What we look at is people say don't try to swing so hard. So what I say is let's increase your club head speed 15 to 20 miles an hour, and then let's swing easier. Now it's going to be 10 miles to 12 miles an hour faster than what you've ever swung before. And now you're swinging easier than you ever have because you're able to generate so much more club head speed than you ever could before, and now you've got it under control because you're swinging easier. So what we have to do is we have to train to improve.
Right. So really what you're suggesting is kind of the opposite what traditionally is done. As you said, that most, especially in this profession, most are teaching to swing a little easier first before really improving the end result. So what's ultimately happening is, again, it's harder to add on afterwards. So in other words, what you're essentially saying, Greg, is let's build up the speed first and then slow the swing down a little bit, because of the speed being greater than what it was before. Slowing it down is still going to be faster than what it was before, and give you that extra club head speed, and obviously ultimately give you the further distance that you're looking for with the accuracy.
Right. What really happens during a golf lesson is when people want to actually swing the club faster, and most people truly do want to swing it faster, is what we do is we propose new irons, we propose new drivers, we propose keeping the swing the same speed that you had it before, but fitting you with a better club that's got the right shaft, right loft, trying to make you hit it further. Get the right angle of attack. With the new, TrackMan equipment, we can see everything there is possibly to see about making sure that the club's coming in the ball perfectly. So what we're always trying to do is we're always trying to make the swing perfect. As we know as instructors, there's no perfect swing out there. No. And so when we let a machine try to dictate what a perfect swing is, then what we're doing is we're really chasing after something that's impossible to achieve. So what I take a look at is let's take a look at what the customer wants. And there's three things that every customer wants. Number one, they want to be more consistent. Number two, they want better accuracy. And number three, they want to hit the ball further. So most of the customers out there want to hit the ball further. And I don't really think that there's hardly any instructors out there that are offering the ability to hit it further, because they don't have the tools in the toolbox other than trying to sell them a new driver, a new shaft, a different loft, or a new set of irons. And I think that if we train and we develop, we can hit the ball further, and we can hit it much further, because the average golfer out there doesn't train to hit it further. And we need to start doing that. We need to be able to train to hit the ball further. And we can achieve that success by swinging easier than we ever have before, because now we've gotten stronger and the speed of the swing has improved drastically.
Right. So let's talk about some of the training aids. I know that you've got a number of them, and let's talk about that. You've got several ones that you recommend that have best worked in your situation to help achieve that consistency, accuracy, and distance. Let's talk about some of the tools of the trade, if you will, that you have.
Well, one of the things we have, and we all know that hitting the ball further is great, but we all got to make putts. We've got to make sure that we can put the ball in the hole. So I think one of the best teaching aids that I have is called a putt ruler, and the putt ruler is designed to help us develop a putting stroke that's going to allow us to make putts from anywhere from 3 feet to 15 feet, which when we take a look at the PGA Tour and the putts that the pros make on the tour, if we take a look at a 25-foot putt, which is probably 25-foot putt, is probably the most practiced putt on the putting green by the amateur golfer. On the PGA Tour, only 5.7% of those putts are made. 5.7%. But on amateurs, 4.3% of those are made. So if we really get good at a 25-foot putt, we're only going to be able to increase our percentage 1.4%, which isn't something I think that we ought to really spend a lot of time on. So the training aid in which I've developed is a training aid that we try to develop a better 3-foot putt, a 6-foot putt, a 9-foot putt, and 12 to 15-foot putt. By developing those putts, by increasing your percentage in those putts, we're going to be able to develop lower scores, more control, and lack of free putting. When we take a look at, the statistics on tour, I take a look at on the PGA Tour, only 50% of the 8-foot putts are made. Now I know, people are going, are you crazy? No, 50% of the 8-foot putts are made. But if I look at the handicaps of 10 to 19, only 50% of the 5-foot putts are made. So when amateurs are out there kind of taking a look at their golf game, statistics show that the average amateur golfer really lacks the ability to make putts from 15 feet in. And if we can increase our percentage, or decrease the number of putts that we have per round, we're drastically going to be able to increase our enjoyment of the game and increase maybe doors opening up for us, whether it's college or whether it's golf with associates or whether it's just playing with your best friends more and enjoying the game more by lowering your scores. So it's very, very important to be able to develop a better putting game. Now, the putting tool that I've developed is not something that I'm looking at trying to change the mechanics of the golf swing. So often I've heard people say, practice makes perfect, and then somebody else will clown up and say, no, perfect practice makes perfect. Well,
right.
First of all, we've already established there is no perfect swing out there. I mean, we've got a machine that tells us what the perfect swing is, but we're not going to have it. So what I say is, no, practice doesn't make perfect. But I'll tell you what, practice sure can make consistency.
Yeah.
And so if we're trying to develop a putting stroke, and it may not have the best mechanics in the world, but we develop it over and over and over again, tell me which pro out there does have the best mechanics in the world, because, you know, some of my all-time favorite golfers, including Jack Nicklaus, I mean, very unique setup. Aoki was another one that had a very unique setup, and we have, you know, golfers out there today that have very unique setups and very unique putting strokes. And so what's to say that you as an amateur can't use one of these, you know, wonderful training aids to begin to develop and effectively putt better than you've ever putted before in such a short period of time? But you have to train the training aids in order to do that. And I think that it's very important to be able to train yourself daily to be able to increase your abilities to putt.
Do you think, Greg, let me just jump in here for a quick second. I want to ask you something just along the lines of teaching and coaching and that. Do you think that a lot of emphasis is made on trying to create that perfect swing? I mean, if you look at, you gave us some great examples. I can throw another one out there. Lee Trevino certainly had one of the most unorthodox swings and setups, really, by today's standards. But yet, if you look at most of the tour players out there today, certainly with a vast majority of them, their swings all mimic very similar. Not all of them, but certainly a lot of them are very much the same as one another. Do you think that there's being too much emphasis in instruction today on trying to go after that perfect swing as opposed to maybe enhancing each individual's best abilities?
You know, that's just an awesome question. The reason I love that question is because the answer is, oh my gosh, yes. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I can't believe, you know the majority.
Right.
I've been teaching now since I've been 18 years old. The majority of the students that I have that don't know who I am, when they come in, the first thing that they say is, please don't try to teach me like a PGA Pro on tour, because I'm not.
Right.
And the second thing is that most of the big box stores, most of the big box teaching stores have all developed through using technical computer equipment. I mean, the game doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't need to be difficult to understand. It needs to be simple to do. And so when we're sitting there looking at all this computer feedback, I've got the majority of my clients work really hard on developing their game. And some of them have problems in common. But the biggest problem that I've seen over the last 2 to 3 years is the yips.
Yeah.
And the yips are coming in chipping and putting and driving. And the reason these yips are coming so frequently is because the golfer is actually thinking so much that they can't make the swing proper, because they've gone off after learning the golf swing on this high-tech golf equipment that every time they move, they have to move in the proper position. Whereas when we say, I don't want to be the next PGA Tour pro out there, then, I kind of interview my client and ask them what your goals are. What do you want to achieve? And based on what they want to achieve, let's teach based on that. Let's not teach based on what I want to achieve for them, but let's teach based on what they want to achieve. Getting results for your client is one of the most important things that you can do. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to ask them what they want. And the second thing is, if you choose to try to make that client the best golfer by making everything perfect, remember, your swing's not perfect. Remember, you don't have the best motion. And if we did, we'd be on tour. So, I've played in many tournaments, done very well for myself, but the bottom line is my swing's not perfect by far. But when I look at Fuzzy Zeller, Raymond Floyd, Chicho Rodriguez, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus, and many of these other guys, their swing's not perfect either. But the thing that I like about it is that they went on the range and they practiced and they worked it out and they got a feel. And that feel is what I said earlier. Practice doesn't make permanent. Practice makes consistency. And if I can develop the same flight pattern time and time again, then I can get that consistency.
Well, exactly. And just to add to that, the swings that all of the gentlemen that you have mentioned worked for them. It may not, Trevino's swing or Jack's swing or Arnie's swing may not work for me or you. or anybody else out there. It's what works for them. They've cultivated, and this is one of the things, and again, it's not to knock instruction in general, but I think that there is a lot of emphasis, and I've made no bones about this on the program before, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there rolling their eyes thinking, is he going to say this again? I'm certainly all for. I think there's a lot of great technological advancements out there in the golf industry, but I think sometimes it's relied too heavily on in being used in golf instruction, and I think to the detriment of the students. And I think a lot of them are starting to realize that now, and kind of going back to some of the basics, some of the earlier teaching methods. I mean, there's certainly some that are still trying to move that needle in technology, but at the same time, I think there are also a lot of people out there realizing that technology is great. It has a purpose and it does have a function, but if used too much or improperly, can work as a disadvantage as well for both the coach and the student. Let me say this, Greg, just to allow you to bring in some of the other products that you want to talk about. A lot of golfers, of course, from all over the world that are tuning in tonight really want to know how to work on different areas of their game. You've come up with some great training aids for really different areas of the game. Tell us of the areas of the game that you're specifically targeting and why you're targeting. You've talked about, obviously, the putting ruler. Let's talk about some of the other ones that you have and what areas of the game you're focusing on and why.
Well, the second thing that people need to do is they need to be able to control the direction a little bit better. One of the things that, I kind of laugh about some of the things that I say, and one of the things that I say is this, I have no idea where the ball is going to go. I really don't. But I'll bet you $1,000 where it's not going to go. that means I know what it's not going to do when I hit the shot.
Right.
Now, I wish it would go in the hole, but I don't know where it's really going to go. But I do know where it's not going to go. And the only way that you're going to really realize where your ball is not going to go is if you kind of understand what you need to achieve and how to achieve it. And, when we talk about direction control, we have to understand where and how to develop direction control, where the ball is going to go and how you're going to get it there. So, number one, you've got to have the right swing path. Number two, you got to have the right face angle. So you got to have the right impact when the club actually touches the ball. So when we take a look at so many things out there, and so many writings and so many ideas, and everybody's got a difference of opinion, and nothing's really wrong or nothing's really right. So what I kind of say is I keep things pretty simple. I say right now there's 6 flight patterns. Now people listening can agree or disagree, but there's 6 flight patterns. 1, there's a draw. 2, there's a straight ball. And 3, there's a fade. The other 3 flight patterns are a hook, a slice, and a pull. Now, we can say there's a push, but a push really a lot of times resembles in a push, slight fade.
Right.
So, we've got those 6 flight patterns. Now, the one thing that I want to say is none of these flight patterns have anything in common. So when I say that a hook and a draw, they don't have anything in common. There's nothing in common about them. They're 2 different shots. So how do we get there's 2 different shots? Well, the first thing we talked about was flight pattern. The second thing we want to talk about is impact position on the golf ball. So we can hit the ball on the outside with a closed face. We can hit the ball in the center. We can hit the ball on the inside with an open face. So we have 3 different impact positions. And then, lastly, we have 2 different swing paths. We have an out to in, and we have an in to out. So 2 swing paths multiplied times 3 impacts give us 6 flight patterns. Just keep it really simple. So if you have an out to in swing path, that means every time you hit the shot, it's going to start off left of where you're aimed. If you hit it with an open face, it's going to go left to right.
Right.
If you hit it with a closed face, it's going to go left to left. And if you hit it with a square face, it's going to straight ball pull to the left. Then you have an in-to-out swing path, which is the one that we prefer. That's the one that we want to be able to control the ball flights with. So an in-to-out swing path, if we hit the ball in-to-out, it's got to start off right of where we're aimed. And it can start off variations of right of where we're aimed. So I know sometimes it can start off perfectly straight, but it's going to start off just a little right of where we're aimed. It's going to work back. So if we swing in-to-out and we have a slight closed face, the ball's going to go right to left. If we have a large closed face, the ball's going to go right to further left, but it still started off to the right.
Right.
So a draw always starts off to the right, and a hook always starts off to the left. A hook is not playable unless you're trying to do it on purpose, and a draw is. We could overdraw a green, but we're not full hooking the shot out of bounds. So I'd rather have a draw any day that draws too much than a hook that pulls and goes left. So a draw is in-out swing path with a closed face. A fade is an in-out swing path with an open face. And a fade is going to push right first and then drop to the right. It's completely different than a slice. A slice works back into the fairway where a fade works out of the fairway. And then we have a straight ball. And a straight ball is done with an in-and-out swing path with square face. That's either going to go straight down the line or that's going to go just a little bit right to the left on an angle because the ball didn't leave from your belly button and left from your hip. So the ball left from the ground in front of you, so it goes to the hip and works back into the belly button for a straight ball. Being able to develop that swing path and being able to develop that impact is something that we all strive to do. We call casting, we call it over the top, we call it all these different swings. But the bottom line is we need to be able to swing from in to out. And so what we've developed to be able to increase our ability is not something that's going to come in and change completely your swing. That's going to come in and change and try to make you perfect. But it's a teaching aid that's going to come in and it's going to train you to be able to swing in to out. It's going to make your backswing correct on the takeaway, and it's going to make your follow-through correct so that you're going to make the right swing path. So this swing training aid is basically in-out swing training. You know, if we could design a machine where we could put every golfer in it and have them feel the right swing path and have them do it thousands and thousands of times, where they say it takes 10,000 reps to groove a swing over a 21-day period of time, that swing isn't made and that swing isn't affordable to anybody, even if it was made. So what I've developed is what I call in-to-out swing path sticks. I have a short one on the back and a long one on the front. And when you take the backswing away, you need to take it outside the short one. And when you bring it through, you need to bring it inside the short one. And when you follow the rest of the way through from the ball, you need to make sure that you don't hit the stick in front of you. And if you hit the stick in front of you, that would be an out-10 swing path. Out-10 swing path. And if you miss that stick in front of you, it's an in-out swing path. What this is doing is giving you immediate feedback. This is giving you a feel. It's a lot different than a computer because a computer can only give you information.
Right.
In-out swing path sticks actually gives you a feel, allows you to develop the swing, allows you to see immediate results, allows you to feel the differences when you hit it and when you don't hit it. So what we want to be able to do is we want to say that I want to be able to make a swing endlessly. I want to be able to train because I want to be able to make that swing so that I can feel what the swing feels like. Think about this. When you come into practice at the driving range and you hit one golf ball, 5 seconds after that shot, everything that you felt, everything that you tried to achieve decays. You can't feel anything again. So what happens is you take another 30 seconds in between shots and you do it again, and then you do it again. And scientifically it's been told that a swing can be grooved if you make 10,000 reps over a 21-day period of time. You can place one habit with an old habit. The problem is you got to make those 10,000 reps correct. So what I've been able to develop is the in-out swing path sticks. And the in-out swing path sticks doesn't have to be used with a golf ball. It doesn't have to be used hitting that great golf shot out there, but it can be used to train that great golf swing. And when I keep talking about training is different than teaching. Teaching is telling somebody what I want them to do. Training is letting them feel what I want them to do. And so when we use the in-out swing path sticks, we're able to train with those, and you're able to make the swing indefinitely. You don't have to stop. You can continue the motion. You can continue training, and you can make that motion correct until you get a feel for it. Then throw a golf ball down, still using the in-out swing path sticks, hit the golf shot, and then go back into training. Remember, hitting a lot of golf balls a lot of time can be key, especially if you're practicing something for feel. But the first thing that you want to do is you want to know that you've got some ownership over the swing. So you want to develop that swing path by using the in-out swing sticks so that you can develop the feel of making the correct in-out swing path. Practice the out-in swing path as well so that you can feel the difference, so that you can immediately change it if you so desire. By doing that, you're going to be starting to control the swing path, and therefore you're going to start controlling the direction of your golf shot.
You know, Greg, and that's well said. You know, one of the things that, again, going back to technology for a second, sometimes the simplest things can provide the best training. And one of the I guess, arguments I've always had with some of the technology out there is interesting and as wonderful as it is, again, a lot of times either there's a machine or there's some other video component to it, which is great for some people. Some people can learn that way. But a lot of people really need to feel what's happening in order to ingrain that sort of memory, if you will, into their psyche. And what often happens with the equipment is they're able to see it maybe in a video or a 3D feedback, but they're really not able to equate it because the machine's sort of mapping out what they're doing, in a different platform, if you will. And I like the idea of really what you're proposing here, because it really keeps it simple, but it's effective at the same time, and it's obviously much more inexpensive as well to be able to accomplish essentially the same goal. Correct?
It is, but it's something that you can work on by yourself. The one thing that Clint said in the last show, both those guys, they said things that I thought were great. But the one thing that Clint said was, when you're doing a lesson, you don't want to say anything negative.
Right.
And, I agree with that 100%. When you're taking a look at a computer, it's 100% negative. You're looking at the computer to find out what you did wrong. I had a lesson last year, and two gentlemen that I worked with, it was a group lesson with two guys, and during the lesson, the one guy says, "How come you're not videotaping our swing?"
Mm.
I said, what do you think your biggest problem is? And he laughed, and he said, my mental side. I said, yeah, you're right. Your mental side is your biggest problem. You got the yips, and we're working on chipping. He says, well, don't you think that videotaping my swing will help me a little bit more? And I says, well, if I videotape your swing, what do you think we're going to see? He goes, well, we're going to see what I'm doing wrong. And I kind of laughed, and I said, you're right. We are, aren't we? I said, and the only thing you're going to be thinking of is what you're doing wrong. I says, when, we teach golf, the bottom line is guys, when you miss a shot, I don't care what you did wrong. I really don't. I could care less what you do wrong. I want to work on what you need to do right.
Right.
So much teaching is done on explaining what we do wrong. The one thing about this computer equipment that I believe in is that I believe it brings credibility to an instructor. When an instructor says, hey, you did this, this, and this, of course. I can see that's what I did. So I could train an 18-year-old boy that doesn't even golf to come in and take a look at the computer and read the information and give it to the student, give it to the client. I don't want to train somebody on a computer. I want to train somebody on ball flight. I want to train somebody on impact. I want to train somebody that's going to recognize that this person has a flying elbow because they work behind a desk and they're on a computer all the time and they have no flexibility. And that we're not going to get them in the gym tomorrow to get into a yoga class or an aerobics class and get that stretched out. We're not going to get a better turn from this guy as much as we want to. It's just not going to happen. So the training aids and teaching aids that I've developed are training aids that perhaps maybe the plane angle of the swing is a little off. Maybe perhaps I can't make a full shoulder turn. I was just reading yesterday, a guy says, one of the videos that I get daily from different organizations, it says for a longer drive, make a bigger swing. And I'm thinking well, first of all, most people can't make a bigger swing, and second of all, the only way they're going to make a bigger swing is bend the left elbow. And now the third thing is you're not going to get a longer drive from that. You're actually going to hit the ball shorter. So the one thing we need to do is we need to swing within ourself. But if ourself gets faster because we're training for speed, then we're going to be able to develop more club head speed, and we're going to be able to do it easily. And we're looking at swinging in-to-out swing pass. The bottom line is if we don't have something that can train the in-to-out swing path, it's a swing path the golfers never felt. Because if they felt it, they would daggone sure be able to replicate it, duplicate it. And so it's a swing path they've never felt. So in order for them to feel that in-out swing path, we must have a training aid that's going to help them develop an in-out swing path. And without a proper training aid, there's no possible way that you're going to be able to develop an in-out swing path. Now, developing an in-out swing path is completely different than casting a golf club. People think that I cast, I don't swing in-to-out. There's some things that can be similar in that thought, but the bottom line is you cast because you don't know when to swing. You cast because you take the club to the top and you swing too fast from the top. So what we need to do is we need to train the mind, we need to train the body, and we need to begin an understanding of when the swing actually starts so that you don't cast. And that kind of brings us to one of the other grip sticks that I have. The third grip stick that I have, we have an exact weighted handle so that it gives you the feedback that it needs. And then we have a weighted tip on the shaft so that when you take the club away from the ball, if the shaft would wobble and bend, you've taken it away too fast. If you have the shaft wobble and bend from the top, you've actually swung it too fast from the top. So it helps you develop a sense of timing for when the swing is to begin and when the actual release of the swing is to start. So developing training aids, helping a golfer learn when it's time to swing, is really the only way that a lot of golfers are ever going to be able to feel the swing for the first time. Telling them and trying to put them into place and moving their hands and trying to develop that swing. It's a difficult thing for the student to feel. One of the greatest things that I ever learned as a 23-year-old boy was something that Payne Stewart happened to tell me. Mm-hmm. And he told me that he hits the ball where he wants because he can feel it.
Right.
And that resonated with me. I was looking at trying to be a teacher, and I wasn't having any success. My brother told me I was one of the best players that he ever met. Why don't I teach like I play? Which I didn't think that was the right way to do it, because the books and the schools and the way that I was learning the PGA wasn't showing me something that I could relate to my customer well enough. And I said, it's just my fault. It's not any of the information's fault. It's my fault that I'm not good enough to relay the information and get results and get success. And Payne Stewart, I asked him a few questions on how to stop slicing a golf ball. And how do you stop a slice, or how do you slice, is what I really wanted to know. Mm-hmm. And he says, I slice the golf ball because I just feel it. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I didn't really get an answer. So the one thing that I've done, basically my whole career, and like they said earlier, Clint and
John
said earlier, they said if you're in your last lesson and you're tired and you want to go home, man, you shouldn't be teaching. Sometimes I teach 12, sometimes I do 15 lessons in a day. The one thing that I've done since I've been 20 years old is I've said my last lesson is going to be my longest no matter what. My last lesson is 100% of the time my longest lesson. I taught and worked with my father and my brother for years, and my dad can honestly tell you my last lesson was always my longest lesson, because I just wanted to make sure that I never shortchanged anybody in a lesson. I wanted to make sure that we gave them everything we could. And that's one of the things in developing these teaching aids that I tried to do, is I know that learning the game is not easy. One time I was probably 27 years old, and I was doing a group program with beginner golfers. And I was working on specifics, and 7 of the people in the program were females, and one of them was a male. And the male was always kind of trying to be cocky and loud. And
sure.
during one of the shots, the gentleman said to me, he says, "You don't know what it's like to be a beginner." I thought about that. Mm-hmm. Every week we did a lesson. 2 weeks went by. I said, "Hey, guys," I want you to come around for a demonstration. I want to hit a couple shots to the 100-yard marker. I hit 3 shots and put all 3 of them within about 30 feet, 45 feet at the most. But I hit them left-handed. And after I got done, I looked at that guy and I said, "You know what? I didn't know what it was like to be a beginner." He says, "You're wrong." I said, "I never forgot what it was like to be a beginner." I said, "But just to kind of make sure that the information that I was talking about, that I could understand, and that hopefully you could understand, I started hitting balls left-handed." So my lowest score left-handed was 41. And I went out and played several times left-handed. But I wanted to make sure that what I was teaching, people could understand. People could duplicate, replicate, take it to the range, and take it to the golf course. And so that's what a lot of the teaching aids that I developed were for. One of the things that we all want as instructors is we want results.
Right,
and in order to develop results, we have to be able to get our message across. And I think getting that message across can be done maybe a little bit more effectively with teaching aids. The other thing that I put together is practice programs. And practice programs based on the individual. Is this individual an executive? Does he need an executive practice program? Is this person a junior in high school? Are they in junior high? Could they use a longer practice program? So what I was able to develop is a handout in each area of the game, so that when we get done with the lesson and what I've worked on, I've given that handout to them so that they go and practice what we worked on between lessons. And the other thing that we've developed as well, and you kind of mentioned different videos, is I've developed a website to where everything that I teach, I'm able to not only immediately email my customer on what we went over today, but email them a video on what we went over today, so that they will remember and understand it and be able to practice it correctly. And then weekly, like I said, I give them a handout. And the handout, I ask for it back to make sure that they worked on what we needed to work on between lessons so that we could achieve what we needed to achieve. Everything needs to be revolving around results. And so when we have amateurs, when we talk about, this pro taught this pro, and this golf teacher taught that pro, and this golf teacher taught that pro. Well, it sounds really great, but, I want somebody, if I was golfing, I'd want somebody to teach me. And,
right.
I want them to talk on my level. I want them to, help my game. And so, the teaching aids that we have, like I said, they're not high tech, but they sure do produce results, and they help your golf game. So we're working on swing paths, the impact. We're working on the distance and creating consistency.
Let's talk a little bit about the distance here. You've obviously developed the training aid to help with the distance, which is your rip sticks. Let's talk about a little bit about that, about increasing the club. You alluded to it obviously earlier, and that was why I wanted you to, first off, to relate the 4 laws of speed training first before we got into this discussion, because I wanted people to understand really where you were coming from. There's a lot of great training aids out there, but there's a purpose why you've developed this training aid, and it applies to these 4 laws. So let's talk about the rip sticks, and then we'll continue from there.
Well, the rip sticks are basically 3 different clubs that change in weight. And when you swing them, you can actually hear the sound of the golf club so that you can understand the speed at which you're swinging, and that speed is going to improve as you continue to use the rip sticks. We swing left-handed, we swing right-handed, we swing both hands, and we develop a continuity between each side. Many times what you'll find is a person's left-handed or a person's right-handed swinging faster or slower. So you have a fight with the hands. The second thing is you'll find if both hands are kind of working together in unison apart, when you put them together, you're actually swinging the club slower than you swung it before. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do with the rip sticks is we want you to develop under high speed so that you can swing the club as fast as you humanly possibly can. And what this is called is overspeed training, so that we swing it as fast as we can so that we can develop. What happens to most golfers when they come in for a lesson, they lack distance, they lack direction, they lack the things that they want or that they really want and desire. And then when you ask them why that they don't have any distance, they say, well, years ago I started changing my swing because I wanted to swing it slower so I would be able to hit the ball more consistent. Well, like I said, we teach that many times, but I don't really know anybody effectively out there that slows the swing down and then hits it more efficient. I really don't know that guy. I don't think I've really ever seen that person that plays on a continual basis, that slows the swing down. I mean, you're a golfer. Do you get up to the drive and try to hit it really easy? Or do you get up and try to, hit it firm? I mean, you don't get up there and try to kill it, but you try to hit it firm. And if you miss a drive, you go to the driving range and you work on it. You don't go to the driving range and say, well, I'm going to slow my swing down 20 miles an hour so I can hit it straight down the middle. I mean, that's not what anybody does. So what we want to do is we want to train so we can effectively increase the distance. We do that by, within a 2-week period of time, using the first of 3 rip sticks, by developing the muscles, by training the muscles, by using the muscles that really create speed within a golf swing. And we take a look at where speed actually comes from. We've seen that we've heard so many people say use the hips and use the legs and use the shoulders and use this and use that. Speed majority comes from your arms. You want your body to follow. If you put your feet together and you swung a club upside down, or you swung a rip stick as fast as you humanly possibly could with both hands or with one hand at a time, and then you took your legs and you put them apart, you use your hips and your legs, you're not going to hear really any contrast. You're going to hear the same speed.
Right.
And if you did hear a contrast, then you know what, gosh darn it, you better use your hips and your legs to get everything through. But the fastest you can move your hips is 3 miles an hour. I mean, take one of those alignment sticks and put it through your belt loops and turn your hips as fast as you can and see how fast you go. I mean, it's 3 miles an hour. Then stand there with your arms, swing your arms, and see if you can hear it whoosh. So you want to train, and you want to train properly, and the rip sticks allow you to do that. So for 2 weeks, we train to increase the speed. And after your body gets accustomed to that training, and we have a training program, after your body gets accustomed to that training, then what do? We increase the resistance. We get a heavier speed stick. And then we do that for 2 weeks. And then after that, we get a heavier speed stick. And we do that for 2 weeks. And we do that so that we meet the laws of speed training. Number 1, the movement pattern had to be the actual motion. Number 2, the contraction velocity. It needs to be fast for golf, slow for weights. And contraction force, the actual event. We have to create more resistance so that we can create more what? we can create more muscles. We create more speed. If we keep using light speed or lightweight, we're never going to be able to get stronger. So it makes sense. It's common sense. And that's the way that you're going to be able to increase your distance is by training. You're going to have to train to increase your speed. Speed equals distance. So if we want to increase our distance, we have to increase our speed. And the speed isn't necessarily trying to swing harder. It's about conditioning the muscles that create the swing so that we can effectively use them on a more consistent basis. And then we don't have to swing harder. We can swing smoother and gentler and hit the ball just as far as we're seeing some of those pros out there hit the ball. You know, when we take a look at great golfers, just in recent years, they've been hitting the ball as far as they have. 285 yards, the average drive on the PGA Tour. Well, in the past 10 years, the average drive was 265, 255. So when somebody takes a look at how far they hit the ball, they really have, most golfers have no concept of what the average distance are for the amateur golfers out there. Short drive for the average amateur golfer is 200 yards. A medium drive is 230, and a long drive is 260.
Right.
So if you're hitting the ball currently 200 yards and we're able to increase your club head speed 10 miles an hour, I mean, we're going to get another 25 yards.
Yeah. So
getting that additional 25 yards is going to take you right up to a nice medium drive. So for those golfers, and it just, you know, it's really a shame. You know, my father and brother are both pros as well. My brother's a very long ball hitter. He won a big championship this year, and my niece, his daughter, won the girls' state championship here in Ohio this year in Division II.
Wow.
Last year she got second place, and she shot 67-74. This year, in unbelievable conditions, she was able to shoot a 78-74 to win state. Different than last year, but the conditions were quite different. But the one thing, my father won the Ohio Seniors and won different events, and quite the golfer. Dad quit golfing, I mean, about 6 years ago, and he quit simply because he doesn't have the distance. Now, I keep begging him to try these distance training aids, but you know, I just can't get him back into it. But so many golfers fall out of the golf game because they don't hit the ball far enough. My daughter is one of the longest ball hitters that I've ever met, and she's in high school. She drove a green this year 319 yards. She's flown on mini greens 300 or 280 yards. Her 5-iron, she hits her 5-iron 200 yards. She hits her pitching wedge 120 yards. She's an extremely long ball hitter, but she didn't get to be a long ball hitter by just waking up and going to the golf course. She got to be a long ball hitter by training. And for those golfers out there that are wanting to improve their golf game, stay in the game, and for those instructors that want to keep people in the game and promote and grow the game, we can do that as instructors. We have the ability to really do that. And one of the things that happens is as instructors, we all want something. And I say the three things that every instructor really wants is, number one, they want results. Mm-hmm. Number two, they want more clients. And number three, as instructors, we've got to make more money. Yeah. And it's hard to make more money when you're losing clients. And it's hard to make more money when you're not getting results. So the one thing that I believe in is the training aids, in which that I've been fortunate enough to be able to come up with and design and sell. And the training aids, I think that every instructor out there across the world ought to be selling training aids. These training aids help improve your putting. These training aids really groove the swing path and help your student take control of their accuracy. And lastly, these training aids really and truly increase distance like nothing I've ever seen, to where your client can effectively go down one iron within a 6-week period of time or less. So where they were hitting a 6-iron, they're now hitting a 7-iron. Where they're hitting a 7-iron, they're now hitting an 8-iron. And we all know that when you're able to do something like that, you're able to hit more greens in regulation. Hitting a green in regulation is a lot easier with an 8-iron than it is a 7, a lot easier with a 7 than it is an 8, a lot easier with a wedge than it is a 9. So if we're able to increase our distance, we're able to, therefore, create better results. The one thing about being able to create, like I said, more cash flow is by giving your student or selling your student something that they really need and something they can effectively train with. And therefore, we can take a look at being able to say, if you do 10 clients a day, 7 clients a day, if you can make an extra $20, $30 off of each client, but not just make money off them, give them something they really need. So what you would really effectively be doing is not only increasing the worth of that lesson, you would be increasing the worth of that lesson two ways. Number one, because you made more from that lesson by giving the teaching aids, and number two, because you created better results with your customer. And the customer doesn't mind buying a teaching or a training aid as long as you're not trying to sell it. They want to buy it because it works. They want to buy it because they're going to get better. And that's the one thing that the teaching aids that we've come up with really are able to achieve. They're able to achieve a better golf game. They're able to achieve more consistency. They're able to achieve control. And by far, they're able to achieve more distance.
You know, and you raise a very interesting point because you talk about on your website. Obviously went to your website and looked at some of the information that you put on there. For instance, you talk about really 5 minutes a day over a 6-week period using the ripsticks. Golfers can expect to gain really anywhere from 10 to 30 yards with their driver, and that's something that you actually put on there in big bold letters that you guarantee that if they follow the program that you're putting out there. And the point that I'm really trying to make with this, Greg, and I agree 100%. We've seen a lot of aids over the years, that teaching aids and training aids, but if they're not getting the results that the students are looking for, then they're not helping not only the student, but they're not helping you as a business owner or an entrepreneur, and certainly a golf teacher or coach. And this is something that you've had a lot of great feedback from over the time that you've been developing these different training aids. Again, they're not some big machine or expensive tool that it's very inexpensive compared to what's out there in the market, but it's getting results, and that's really the key thing. A true training aid is something that's going to get results. If it doesn't get results, then it's really of no use. And you've done it very, very well over the years with what you've developed here. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you back on the show to talk about that.
Well, I truly appreciate that. I love golf, I think, more than anything in the world. I love teaching it. I love making players better. There isn't anything I think I could ever do that I'd be more passionate over than helping golfers improve their game. The one thing in taking a look at training aids and teaching aids and the way that teaching is done and the way that things are done in the golf industry today, we've all got an opinion of what we think should be done. Right. The one thing that I take a look at is the customers are pretty smart out there. They know whether you're trying to sell them a bill of goods. They know whether you're trying to get more lessons out of them. And they also know when you're really doing a good job. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that I think that true passion brings out in golf today is that we can grow the game. We can make the game better, but we have to do it together. And we have to have that passion. If you don't have that passion, you got to stop teaching. You got to stop being a head pro. You got to stop being involved in the game. It's not a job. I mean, if I had to get up and go to work every day, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do what I do today. But this isn't a job. My father told me years ago when we got into business, he said, what do we have to lose? And I said, my gosh, Dad, I have to lose this, this, and this. And my dad says, no, son. He says, the greatest thing that you'll ever have. He said, you'll have a great education. And, not only did I get a great education, but I got one of the best passions that anybody could ever have. And, with these different golf teaching aids and training aids, I think whether you're an instructor or whether you're a player, I think the key is you need to use them. And, if you don't mind, I tell you, they're on my website. They're on gregsgolfaids.com, and they're also on golfimprovementaids.com. You can take a look at them. And you're welcome to take a look at my website, Greg Jones Golf Academy. And anybody out there, whether it's a teacher, instructor, player, if you guys want to give me a call or you want to send me out an email, feel free to. I get emails and I get calls every day. I get calls actually from all over the world. I just got a call the other day from Australia, which was really cool. And I travel all over the world. I actually have a lesson program that I call the Ultimate Program, which ultimate learning experience on my website that I actually travel to different people across the United States, and I've been in Germany and Africa and different places teaching golf. And it's very exciting to where a client would call me up and I would come and see them. But these teaching aids, they work, and if you're wanting to increase your distance, you can. If you're wanting to take control of your direction, you will. And if you want to make more putts, there's no doubt about it. But increasing that distance, I do guarantee it. If you follow this plan, there's no easy way. There's no, hey, I'm going to get up today and make 5 swings with this golf club, and guess what, I'm going to hit it 10 yards further. We all know that's not going to work. We all know without effort. If we have no effort into it, we're not going to get any results. If you put the effort, the more effort you put into it, the more results you're going to get. And that's why I said I come up with a practice program. The same thing is true with the ripsticks. We have a practice program that we've developed that in order to use the ripsticks effectively and get the distance effectively, you have to do training. And if you don't train, then they're going to be very ineffective, just like anything else.
Yeah. And, Greg, one of the things that I'm passionate about as well when doing this program is really allowing guests such as yourself to really come on the show and discuss, some of the ways that you're doing to help others out there. And I think that obviously, you can certainly tell by listening to you that you're very passionate as well about what you're doing. And I think you have to have that passion, as John alluded to earlier in some of the conversation. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, then it becomes just like any other job, and you start to resent and regret getting up in the morning, especially the wee hours of the morning and getting out there. And there's nothing, more detrimental to your psyche and to your health if you're doing something that you don't enjoy doing. For those of you that are tuning into the program, certainly I encourage you to go to Greg's website, whether you're in the teaching side, coaching side of golf, or whether you're a student out there looking to improve your game. Go to Greg's websites and check them out. He's got some great videos on the in-to-out sticks, the putt ruler, and, of course, the rip sticks out there. Some great videos and show you how to use the different products. So I strongly encourage you to go out there, and you can also purchase them right through the website as well. Correct, Greg?
Yes, you sure can. Yep, you purchase everything right online if you like.
Yeah, and so, it's easy to do with this age of technology. You can have them in your hot little hands in no time. And, I strongly encourage any of the instructors out there to check it out as well. Get in touch with Greg if need be to have that discussion with him. But and I'm certain he can provide you with what information you need. But go and check out the videos, and go check out his websites as well. Greg, if you want to just give them quickly one more time, and then we'll close out the segment.
Sure. Greg'sGolfAids.com is, of course, has the age on it. The other one is GolfImprovementAids.com. And then to check out the different teaching programs and things that I have to offer there would be GregJonesGolfAcademy.com. And like I said, that has the ultimate learning experience on it. One of the programs that maybe some of your listeners might want to partake on, and I would come and see them and work with them on the program. But on the golf instructors, I do I have a handful. I don't have nearly as many as I want. I sell a lot of products to consumers, but I only have a handful of instructors that I have actually opened up wholesale programs to. And I think that I think it's important to be able to get results. I think it's important to be able to give your students teaching aids and training aids that are going to help them improve. And I think that's a thing that's overlooked much too often, because those teaching aids and training aids will help your student practice. Will help them come out and make a better commitment. And I think that's something that we need to start doing.
Right, and what a great way to motivate your students as well to be able to do that. Again, as we talked about, if you're not getting the results, as a student and or even as a teacher, you're certainly going to see a substantial drop in your client list and obviously in your revenue. And you want to be able to. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than when you've been able to successfully help a student achieve his or her goals. What a great, you want to talk about saving some marketing money. A lot of professionals get out there and they've got the biggest and best website out there, and they've got all kinds of, thousands upon thousands of dollars invested in marketing plans. But if you're not getting the results for your students, eventually all of that money is going for naught. So, instead of spending your money, pushing you out there, spend the time to develop a good system that is going to get results, and I guarantee you those students will certainly take care of future business. So, Greg, I want to thank you very much for joining me on Golf Talk Live. I appreciate you coming in or calling in again tonight, and I look forward to having you back, and good luck with all of the training aids and with all of the instruction that you're doing. Keep up the great work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ted, and as always, I sure appreciate you. I appreciate you allowing me to come on tonight, and what a class act, what a great show. I sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to the next time. And Greg, I'm going to throw this invitation out to you. Well, I'll do a little more formally afterwards, but I would love for you to join in on some of the Coach's Corner panel discussions as well that we're going to be having in the new year. I'm going to be setting up the schedule, so I'll send one yours way, and if you can jump in on a few of the discussions, but more than happy to have you come aboard.
You bet. I'd be more than happy to do that.
All right, appreciate it, Greg. Have a great weekend, and again, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you, Ted. Take care, sir.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. All right, that was my special guest, Greg Jones, the golf guy, as he's referred to. Great guy, and just enjoyed having him on the show and talking about some of the great products. So make sure that you visit his website. I want to thank all of the listeners from really all over the world for faithfully tuning into Golf Talk Live each week. I have the pleasure and enjoyment of having a number of highly talented coaches, teacher professionals, authors, and entrepreneurs stop by, and it's really through their participation and guest appearances that help to make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. Again, thank you to Clint Wright and John Hughes for filling in on the panel discussion tonight, and of course my special guest Greg Jones. Thank you for joining me on Golf Talk Live tonight. Special thanks to some of the sponsors and supporters of the program, Mr. Jonathan Laird of South Coast Golf Guide. Get your guide. Go to southcoastgolfguide.com and get a copy of your guide. Got some great courses in here in the Southeast, right from Texas right over here to Florida and all states in between. A lot of great information in there if you're interested in advertising in the program or in the book as well. You can certainly get in touch with Jonathan. Go to southcoastgolfguide.com, and all of his contact information is there. Also, thank you to Meredith Kirk from Meredith Kirk Golf. Thank you for all of your continued support. Nikki and Tiffany Litherland, thank you for helping to spread the word. Mr. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf. Go to onticgolf.com, and you can check out his great line of customized putters. I have one, of course, and love it. Thank you, Bernie, for that, and much continued success. And I'm going to have him in the new year on the show again. Sean Kelly, owner of linkedgolfers.com, a great platform as well. Of course, Sean heads up the Linked Golfers group in LinkedIn, which is a very large social media network for really business people and those that are looking to expand their business efforts. And he has certainly the largest group, golf group on LinkedIn, and he's taken that platform out to his own outside source, if you will, linkedgolfers.com. So make sure you check that as well. And finally, and certainly no least in mind, Mr. Peter Doyle from Doyle Golf Solutions over in Ireland. Thank you for your continued support as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody and have a great weekend.